Oh, I love cartoons, especially evil ones.
Hello, welcome back to Tunitecture, your most unnecessarily detailed breakdowns and rebuilds of your favorite architecture and buildings in your favorite cartoons. Today, we're going to talk about evil layers and how they reflect upon us in society. Whether we're talking about Magneto or Yzma, all of them. So here's some timestamps for our ADHDers, and we're going to break these things down. Let's get into it. Anowali. We all love a good cartoon. I mean, at least I know I love a good cartoon. I hope you do. And if you don't, why are we even here?
Bye-bye.
And every great cartoon must have a memorable villain. And every great villain must have a great evil layer. It is customary. You must have that. Whether we're talking about Dr. Dastardly, Dr. Doofenshmirtz, Dr. Draken, or even Dr. Doom, the rule is simple. If you're gonna be evil, you'll have to have a headquarters that screams, I am evil. But you ever notice how villain hideouts, they've kind of changed over the years? No longer do we have those old spooky castles with gargoyles and heavy columns. Now everybody has like this sleek tower with rooftop gardens, 5-star Wi-Fi, and 5-star reviews on Airbnb. So like, what happened? And what does it say about us? That's what we're going to get into today.
Light, glass, pointed arches, and ribbed vaults.
So let's get into it. You see, once upon a time, evil was obvious. In the Gothic era, the age of knights, dungeons, and dragons, the villains lived in stone fortresses, these towering, twisting, heavy, terrifying structures. The dark castles, the echoing halls, the flying buttresses, the architecture, or at least the arts of the evil architecture, reflected very real fears. Your tyrannical kings, your religious corruption, the mysterious unknown. You visit any Gothic cathedral, it's heavy, dark, and even awe-inspiring. But it's also perfect for villainy. The cartoons, they copied this trope perfectly to a T. You look at Maleficent's Cursed Castle, Castle Grayskull from He-Man, and Skeletor, of course. Even New York's gargoyles with their stone wings and sharp teeth. If you wanted to say, this character is evil, you just give him a castle. Simple, period. And it's that. Even when they spun it differently, like Emperor's New Groove, they took the evil but they gave it a Mayan design. Yzma's layers, even Cusco himself could pass as somewhat of a villain character. And even if you look at people like Batman, he hides in a cave. Hell, the city itself is named Gotham. The Gothic blueprint was everywhere. But then, art shifted, cultures changed, and naturally, the cartoons, the characters, and the architecture started reflecting modern fears.
It's a style that over the past 60 years has been both vilified and beloved. There have been equal calls to rid our cities of them as there are to preserve them. I'm talking about brutalist architecture.
After 2 World Wars and the Cold War looming, we were no longer scared of the kings anymore, we feared systems. And even so, the villain layers evolved. Enter brutalism, raw concrete, exposed structure, harsh geometry, and faceless structures. Your villain layers were no longer castles anymore, they were machines. Le Corbusier famously said the house is a machine for living, but in this case, the layer was a machine for evil. Look at the Hall of Doom, your Cybertron, the Decepticons layer, or even Magneto's asteroid M, raw, geometrically sharp, and deadly. Even though it's futuristic, it still feels cold and crushing. It screams and tells you loud and clear, I want to wipe you off the face of the earth. You don't matter. This is power. And this is very much reflected in the real world, as cartoons are very much made by Western societies, and Western societies portrayed the communists and socialist regimes similarly. So the architecture and the culture of that became a weapon for fear, and naturally, brutalist cities, faceless societies where the individual vanished into the machine, reflected onto evil villains and naturally their architecture. One of my favorite examples, the Hall of Doom. This is brutalism turned up to 100. It's an ugly, crushing, brutalist skull in the swamp. Not ugly by accident, ugly on purpose. It's literally a skull made out of metal with hard, harsh structures, screaming at you, you don't matter here. Here is power. Here is evil. You also see the evil, scary Gothic trope and brutal fears mixed beautifully, very beautifully I might add, in the works of things like Angel's Egg, where the religious corruption and societal collapse blend into a terrifying art and architecture.
You are watching Architecture. Stay tuned.
So the current project I'm working on is rebuilding and redesigning the Teen Titans Tower. It's probably going to take me 2 weeks to get it done, so you'll see it next week. But while you're waiting, I hope you got to see the very last video. I rebuilt the entire Kids Next Door treehouse from the bottom to the top, every floor plan, and I even made a little mood board so you could download it and print it out for yourself. Now when that video reaches 50 likes, I'm going to release it for everybody to get it. So yeah, that's it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's get back to the video.
Welcome back to Architecture.
The postmodern architecture movement diversified into various new tendencies, including high-tech architecture, neoclassicism, and deconstructivism.
But here's where things get more interesting. When we get to modernism and postmodernism, because evil now shows up in two distinct ways. And the first way you might know is the corporation.
What network do you work for?
BET.
And what does that stand for?
Black Entertainment.
No! Black evil television. It's not enough that the shows are bad. They have to be evil as well. Send in my evil hands.
Villain layers became corporate towers. Think Ultratech from Killer Instinct. Think of Lex Luthor's Megacorps. Or even you could think of
Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated.
Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated. Even the heroes like Iron Man show traces of this. It reflects a shift in corporations swallowing communities, buying up governments, and reshaping society for their own profits.
They say America loves Megalomart, and if we don't speak up, everyone will think it's true. We've got to put an end to the silence while the whole world is watching. If you want out, get out now. As for the rest of us, we will be disrupting a Chuck Mangione concert with kazoos.
Why kazoos, Hank?
Because they're portable, they're annoying, and Megalomart has them for $3 a case.
The second way evil shows up is narcissism.
If you were to address me by the name Mojojojo, that would be correct, for my name is Mojojojo, and I will only be addressed by that name, which is Mojojojo. And furthermore, it is not we who will rule the world, it is I being Mojojojo, who is not Bubbles, shall rule this world alone, which is to say, without anybody else, and without anybody else shall I rule this world. And when this world is ruled by only one person, not a collective group, that one person who shall be ruling the world will be none other than me.
Or even personal traumas. As society became more self-aware, conversations about mental health and therapy exposed new fears. Not just evil systems, but evil individuals.
Hey everybody, check out the all-new Cartman Land. It's our grand opening. Cartman Land has over 100 fabulous rides, 6 roller coasters, and tons of great surprises. And the best part is, you can't come. That's
Drunk off of their own egos, No longer could an evil villain be evil just for evil. He had to have a story behind it that made him into the evil, egotistical person that he is. Mojo Jojo got abandoned. Syndrome never got the attention he wanted. Megamind never got the girl. The villains became clowns with power. Syndrome, The Incredibles, Megamind, Mojo Jojo's absurd Bane Tower, Mandark's overcomplicated lair. What you see is in their architecture, it reflects their personalities, it reflects their egocentrism. And architecture reflected them. The brilliant, chaotic, completely self-centered person. The fear no longer was that the villain was regular evil. No, it was that the villain was mad. He was insane. And one of the best people to do this, the king of evil villains and evil layers, my favorite is Dr. Draken. You see, Dr. Draken he just nailed every villain trope, right? When it comes to Dr. Draken, he had Arctic bases, check. Volcano layers, check. Underwater sea lab, triple check. This dude even had a timeshare for an evil layer. Dr. Draken had everything. He had it all. This dude was perfect when it came to nailing the evil layer. And he had it all and still got beat by a teenager with a beeper. Boy. But hey, at least he did better than Doofenshmirtz. This dude got packed up by a platypus. Not even a platypus alone you got beat by. You got beat by a potted plant. Dude, sort yourself out, dude. Anyway, let's move on to my favorites. This one is what we've been waiting for.
Long ago, the four nations lived together in harmony. Then, everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
One of the most beautiful, genius, and smartest use of villainous architecture was definitely done in Avatar, The Last Airbender. The Fire Nation wasn't just a dark castle. No. The Fire Nation wasn't even feudal Japan. They could have barely used feudal Japan as an example. Nope, they didn't even have a ninja clan, a warrior ninja clan with a bunch of generational beefs and edgelord brothers fighting each other for dominance and preservation of their culture, shooting fireballs at each other. No, I think part of it was because that was already done. But also, the best way to do it was in the form of industrialism. Smoking factories, pollution, warships, giant machines. It wasn't magical, it wasn't even mysterious. It was pure empirical power, choking out other cultures. Clearly inspired by real-world examples like Victorian era Britain, peak British Empire, Meiji era Japan, and just the imperialist attitude that the world had at that time. The Fire Nation architecture shows how evil could have felt righteous to the people who were inside of it. They weren't just oppressing other people. They made the constituents believe that they were helping the oppressed class. It was very much a modern mirror to the historical imperialism where cultures, religion, and ways of life were erased under the excuse of progress. They made these people to feel inferior and not good enough, even savages. And it was all under the guise of progression. You see, in Avatar, evil wasn't hiding. Evil was a system. It was smart, collected, organized, and absolutely convinced it was right. And furthermore, it convinced you that evil was right and righteous and clean. So, what do evil villain layers say about us? Well, if you've gathered anything from this video, is that the evil layer, even the evil villain, is a mirror to us as a society. For every era, every generation, there will always be a new fear. Each new villain and each new layer shows us what we value, but also what we're afraid of losing.
Who's He-Man? Always He-Man!
Whether it's magic, spirituality, reality, or even privacy. What's really interesting is to see how evil layers will reflect themselves from the generations of today. Because today, evil no longer has to look scary. Oftentimes, evil just needs to look inviting. Stay sketchy.